Hey guys, it's David, and welcome to episode 30 of the Splat Report. All right, guys, let's get right into the news. Today we're going to be talking about some recent drama over tournaments. Specifically, starts out with Dia saying, "Can we please stop making so many leagues / tournaments / events for low-level teams? These are great to have when the scene is healthy, but we all know that the Western scene is far from that." All right, so this starts off Dia saying, which, I mean, honestly, what the point he's trying to make, and I kind of read his other stuff and the stuff that he posted on Ink Academy, and he just wants, more open tournaments, more big events that for everybody. He's saying it's been since July because there hasn't been a, Squid Board Splat series. That's a mouthful. I'm trying to get the words there. There was the Invitational, which he wasn't part of. So there hasn't really been a lot of opportunities for high level players to really get, a big event. And he's feeling kind of left out. I think, the thing that he does wrong here is he tells people to stop doing something else in order to serve another part of the community that he thinks, is a greater need. I could definitely appreciate, something, want to look out for, for their own group, especially when he feels a little neglected. I don't really like some of the talk in here that kind of there's some sort of scarcity of TOs, because in some ways, look, they're a limited resource, but at the same time, it's their resource to use as they see fit. And if, we don't have enough, then maybe we should work to develop some of it. Honestly, I don't even know if there's really a lack of TOs or a lack of tournament organizers. We have, 3 really strong. And honestly, Europe's really developing, with the Spark and Rising Squid Land. They're developing esports. What is it? I forget what the French one is. I think it's EBTV or something like that. Primarily does French. They've been kind of expanding into other more, whole Europe events. So we've gotten a lot of really good organizations that can do some really high quality streams. So as far as big events go, and in some ways, they're sort of running into each other was another thing that was brought up, that it's hard for people to find a weekend in between, lands on the weekend, in between other events on the weekend, to find a time to schedule, especially this time of year when you have holidays, schedule a time to actually do these events. So honestly, I don't think the problem is actually any sort of tournaments, stuff for new players. That's ridiculous. But Black comes in and says, from Ink TV, "I'm not sure why anyone is at all surprised that there's more events for new / lower teams when the rhetoric for the past 6 months have been, I'd rather scrim than play tournaments. You're not exactly going to see events targeting that group when there's others who do show up." So Black kind of making the point that a lot of top teams don't play in a lot of events. They don't go to every single event. Despite the fact that they play a ton, they're more focused on playing other top teams. And this point that kind of Sendo makes is basically say simply, we don't need more tournaments. Most CEOs have no idea what players want. Current weeklies barely have teams, and yet the solution is to create more. Really, the focus should be on quality over quantity. Sendo obviously wanting some bigger, nicer tournaments. He doesn't really care about a bunch of small tournaments. Sum it up, not playing in random weeklies does not equal hating tournaments. For me, the biggest criteria to see how desirable a tournament is simply how hard it is to win. The harder it is, the better. So he's basically saying, hey, if I want to enter it, there needs to be some other top teams. And that, of course, can kind of be lead to a situation where somebody needs them. One of the top teams needs to make a first move. It's got to be KP getting in there. And honestly, maybe it is. Maybe that is the people that need to make the first move. Team like Kraken Paradise or For the Win. Team that isn't sponsored, that really needs to get their name out there as much as possible. And I kind of lead the charge in and maybe draw some other teams in there. So he might have a point there. And I can totally understand top players wanting to invest their time playing against the best people possible. The highest level of competition. Pools just is not exciting for them. Beating down a bunch of guys. And that's actually quite cool. I used to see the GSM circuit kind of gives people a chance as a small, 3 tournaments. And I think it's one larger one. Not 100% sure on the details, but you basically get a chance. Winning one will get you seeded into the larger tournament. So that's a cool idea. I like the idea of, kind of seeding some of these players that are obviously going to get in top 8 already there, and save them some time. At the same time, I do understand what Bleck is saying, and Nick Hitzel came in later, said top players are literally a worthless asset to the scene nowadays. Pretty harsh words. This scene is actually dead in 6 months if a change doesn't happen, and most likely the change is to cultivate the intermediate community to just play together in large numbers on a regular basis. And it's pretty harsh words, and I don't necessarily agree with it that they're a worthless asset. The kind of what he's getting at is a lot of top players are kind of an isolated community. They only play with themselves. And that's like, again, it's kind of the issue that Bleck is making here is, these top teams need to get involved more often in the tournaments, because it really does help raise the hype, makes the tournament more legitimate. Like, if doing well in a tournament with other good teams, sorry guys, I'm getting eaten alive out here, but tournaments with like a lot of top teams, it basically just raises the whole event up. So in some ways, but if they're not doing that, then why even care about the top teams to begin with? So I see where they're coming on there. I don't agree with the top players thing, because if you think about like some of the top players, a lot of them do a lot for the community. So I won't call them worthless. It's just that, yeah, maybe should some of these top players or even like high players get more involved, just simply for the fact that it helps make the community. Maybe, like, I don't know how much free time they have. Maybe they have school, maybe they have other engagements. They're trying to balance playing, 4 hours a week, or 3 to 4 hours a day, along with, some other responsibilities. So it's you don't know. You just don't know their situation. So it's hard to judge from that perspective. But I mean, it would be nice to get more top players regularly on tournaments. But is the only way to do it? But is it possible? Is it, outside of them having a really compelling reason to go there? Is there going to be something that draws them in? That's the big problem, and one that there might not be a real obvious or good solution to. The other thing that the one came in here to add to the conversation, and add in quotation marks, top players should be the ones making the map lists for the GIS game, not TOs. This is most likely the most controversial thing I'll post here. Wow. You always love it when they say it's controversial, like they want a pat on the back for saying it. Obviously this is a dumb statement in my opinion, because the TOs are the ones hosting the tournament. They're the ones giving their time up to do it. And it's kind of like the same thing in the same line of deal. Like, why are you going to try? I don't see what their point is, or how this benefits their cause. It's like it's totally counterintuitive to what they want happen. If they want influence map lists, and like they were trying to form like a server which has honestly basically like almost a body of top players that will decide what the map lists are. And I mean, in some ways there's merit to getting a bunch of top players together and saying like, hey, hammering out and say, hey, these are the best maps, these are the most competitive maps, for this reason. And if they were to do that, then I think they could definitely influence the map lists, from now on. If they're gonna try and make themselves out to be some sort of legislative body that decides what other people are going to do, it's not gonna work out at all. And this is kind of the same, like this attitude, just ridiculous. You're gonna, like, if I was gonna go to a party, I just walk in, someone invited me, like, hey, well, you should be playing this music, and you should be serving this food and these drinks, and no one's gonna put up with that. They're gonna say, get out of here. And that's pretty much the same thing that TOs are gonna say to that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous to expect people that are volunteering their time to all of a sudden, just change because you want to, or because you're a top player, air quotes, top player. I mean, and this is like kind of this thing, like these aren't really like viable arguments. You can't just say, I'm a top player, I know what map lists are good. If they could honestly influence what the map lists were if enough people could agree on what is good and what isn't. and actually, you know, put out a solid statement as to why that is. Obviously, they wouldn't probably get every map picked there, but even if they were to go like, hey, you know, top 8 sometimes has, you know, a different map pool than the standard like Swiss round or like the initial round, and if top players would say like, hey, put these maps in top 8, you know we're going to be in the top 8. It's just a given. So hey, why not put these in? We would enjoy it a lot more. It'd be better matches for you. We'd be more likely to play. Hey, that's a good idea. That's a compromise. And that's really what needs to be done. Looking for a compromise of some sort. All right. The other thing I wanted to go into is, I don't know if it really fits into it or not. I think what you have here is, you know, people having basically 2 different goals. You got like the Black and Hitzel, you know, they want to maximize the amount of people, and even with like this, the new level players, max out the amount of people playing in competitive, and that's a great goal for it, is to try and get as many people playing competitive. Because I mean, like, maybe, and there's some, I've seen some dumb arguments saying like, oh, but a lot of these players aren't going to be entering other tournaments, they just sort of stay there. Like, yeah, no freaking duh. I mean, you think about how many people are actually playing this game competitive, you know, playing competitive, they're actually going to be a top player. I mean, just based on reality, when you look at like anything else, only a very, very small percentage play at the top level. And it's just, you know, circumstance, it's just will. There's a lot of different reasons, but reality is only a small percentage. Like some people that are in SWID spawning grounds, maybe they just stay in SWID spawning grounds. They don't want to get better, you know, they just play, they just enjoy it. Oh, who cares? That's great. And maybe there's people just playing Black and Spoon that are never going to get in the top 8. They just enjoy playing. Like, let them stay at that level if they want to stay at that level. They're Ludi. Ludi gets a ton of entrants. And maybe some people are just happy to be in Div 3. That's fine. They just enjoy playing it. The fact is that they're involved in the community. They're involved in competitive. And hopefully that leads to a lot of bleed over to people interested in competitive Splatoon in general. They'll tune into the tournaments. You know, they'll see what people are using. They'll watch my videos about the competitive scene. all these great things. And that's the whole idea of it. So involving people is an obviously great goal. But at the same time, when I see the top players asking, you know, we want the highest level of competition, we want, you know, hype streams. I mean, I can definitely see that too, because I mean, the reality is, one of the things that these like big event, really high quality streams do is they basically turn skill into a consumable product. And you think about like any skill, like just having the skill on its own isn't worth it. It doesn't have any real world value. You think about an artist, you know, that just does pictures in his room, you know, just puts them in a closet somewhere. All right, what are those worth? They're worth nothing. No one sees them, no one buys them. You know, same thing with a musician that just plays like music in his room, doesn't play for anybody else, maybe plays for a few close friends. You know, what is that music worth? You know, what is his skill worth? Like nothing. No, if he doesn't play for anybody else, how is anyone going to see it or know about it? Or, you know, get any sort of value out of it? So what these high-level streams do, or the high-quality streams do, is it basically, these tournaments, these events, they turn skill into value. We get to watch them play, and we get to be entertained by them. We get to learn something, educated by them. And yeah, there are top-level players that, you know, have Twitch, they have YouTube, but not everybody has those assets. And even the people that do, you know, that takes time, that takes effort. Like, what if there was organizations, you know, basically helping you out, you know, give me a chance to win prize money, give me a chance to be exposed to a bunch of viewers, you know, get influenced that way. All those things are important. So I can definitely see why, and especially, you know, for top players, that's very important for them. So I can definitely understand why they want to see more of that. So it's one of these things where, like, I don't think anyone's really like wrong. I think the best thing is to, one, not try the whole idea that like there's gotta be like we can't have one or the other, we can't have both, is I think ridiculous. If, you know, there's not enough people to do, you know, if there's a need somewhere, then we got to work on developing someone to fill it. You can't just demand like, hey, stop doing that and then do this instead. Or even if you wanted to, you could always make an argument like, hey, this is why it would benefit us more. And Dia kind of did that later where he's trying to say like mid, high-level players are getting left out. But obviously the initial thing just kind of started an argument and people take sides and then it kind of defeats the whole point. So I think overall compromise is what we're looking for. And obviously, yeah, compromise, work it out. That's all I got to say about that. That's it for my report. Let's look at the comment section. All right, this is from Kick-A-Pow. Bomb defense is the bomb. I agree with you, Kick-A-Pow. It is definitely the bomb. Obviously, right now, armor is going nuts. It is used everywhere. So if you don't at least have a sub of bomb defense, you're throwing. Because that is obviously what keeps you from your armor from breaking when you get 30 damage from a bomb, you know, at the far range. Puts it under there. You still have armor even after you take that damage. Definitely need to have at least one sub, maybe more depending on your needs. You know, try things out. This is, of course, from the 5hack/Shack/Secure. Dave's got a beard. That I do. Grew this in November, like no shave November kind of thing. Trimmed it a little bit because, you know, I don't want it being too long, but I think it looks good. I don't know about you guys. Got the haircut too, looking pretty sexy. Ladies, I am single, so leave your applications in the comments below. All right, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys have a wonderful day. Merry Christmas.